So let's finish up World War II, shall we? So when we had ended off in my last video, we had gotten through where America had officially joined the war effort and we managed to kick the Axis powers out of Africa. Now on the Pacific side, we were not being so successful. We had lost the Philippines and we had really only won the Battle of Midway and the Battle of Coral Sea as Americans. We did manage to destroy massive portions of the Japanese fleet, but it was a long, hard struggle to be able to invade all of the different Pacific islands through a method called island hopping. And partially that's just because of the tenaciousness of the Japanese troops with their kamikaze fighters who were willing to even die for the cause. And in 1943, going back to the Western European front, the Allies in 1943 invade Italy. And this is surprisingly super successful. The Italian people are very tired of the failures of Mussolini and are willing to break away from him and rejoin the Allied side against Nazi Germany, which is going to open up that massive southern flank. And this is when the Tehran conference is happening, which is basically the discussion of like, how are we going to arrange things after World War II ends? And that this is going to be the meeting of the big three that we're going to continue to see right after the war. The United States, the UK, and the USSR. So the three U's as well. Let's see. But where we start to make headway onto continental Europe itself is going to be in June of 1944 when we have the D-Day invasion. If you remember, this is the invasion that we had planned for months and months and months. We had all of these decoys to convince the Germans that we were going from the English city of Dover over to the French city of Calais. However, we were actually landing on the beaches of Normandy. We had figured that if we had enough fake troops, enough blow-up giant airplanes, that we could trick Hitler into believing that we were going to the shortest point in the English Channel between France and Great Britain, and Hitler was very convinced. When we managed to attack the beaches on D-Day in June of 1944, Hitler didn't believe us. And so he did not send troops right away. He thought that it was a fake attack and that the real attack was coming. And it took him a while to realize that. And so with the Russians coming in from the east, and we are steadily making our way up the boot of Italy and across France to regain Paris, which had a lot of, even though France was not an independent country, it was under Nazi rule during World War II, there was still a lot of dissent, still a lot of people who believed in the Allied cause. We are managing to slowly crush in the Nazi Empire. And the only exception to that would be the Battle of the Bulge, which is when the Nazis dressed as Americans and tried to make a break for the port of Antwerp to cut off the Allied supply lines, which we eventually realized and manages to push them back. And Hitler commits suicide in April of 1945 when he's in his 50s. And that kind of seals the deal for VE Day, or Victory in Europe, which is May of 1945. However, the war is not over for Americans. Americans and the Australians and Canadians who are fighting with us, and some English as well, are all fighting still in the Pacific. We are making our way. We very slowly and arduously managed to retake the island of Iwo Jima and Okinawa, both islands, and we are looking at mainland Japan. However, it took us months to retake the tiny islands of Iwo Jima and Okinawa with tons and tons of American and Japanese lives lost. And this is when FDR dies and Truman is left with the decision. Do American troops go and invade mainland Japan, killing hundreds and thousands of Japanese and American troops, or does he drop the atomic bomb? Which we are the only country in the world at the time who has that technology, and nobody else in the world even believes that we have that technology, or even knows that we have that technology. And so he makes the decision at first in August 6, 1945 to drop the bomb on Hiroshima. And then 3 days later, on August 9th, 1945, he drops the second atomic bomb on Nagasaki. and that is VJ Day, or Victory Over Japan Day. And that is going to be the major ending of World War II. Of course, we're going to see with that nuclear energy being used, which by the way is the only time that anybody in the entire world has used a nuclear bomb in a time of war. This is going to cause the Cold War, which is going to come immediately afterwards and is going to be a great ideological struggle between the United States and Russia to see that who is going to be the best and the brightest superpower.